up a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tansenn, Jess, and Maggie bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 10.8, Asteroid, Dresden, where we are covering the novel Death Masks. My name is Tansenn, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
Hey.
Thank you so much to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us keep doing what we're doing. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling.
Chapter 9. Harry contemplates the prophecy, but puts a little stock into it. Instead, he prepares an anti-vampire venom potion and waits for Bob to return. Ebenezer calls and the two talk about the duel with Ortega. Bob finally returns, injured, and lets Dresden know Marcone has powerful wards set up.
So, Ushavaras is really good at giving an exit.
Bye!
Really dramatic, right? Real good.
Just like the Cheshire Cat, just disappears.
Yeah,
Totally,
just kind of
just all
cryptic
into
warning
place.
as she's fading out, yeah. But I love it how he starts, right? Because he's like, I hate cryptic warnings. Like, okay, fine, I know wizards and shit do that all the time, but I still hate it. It's like, yeah, it sucks to be you, right? Shoe on the other foot, Harry? I do get a kick out of the line, though, where he's like, why they only give brief warnings, mysterious dreams, or like prophetic knock-knock jokes.
It is a good, summary of the prophecy and, how much weight to give them, right?
I like his analogy or whatever, right? I was like, yeah, it kind of works to explain how, like, we're sort of at one point, whereas
They're operating at several points at once, right?
Yeah, so, like, it's kind of like, so, yeah, they kind of have to warn you until... I mean, it really does make you wonder about the whole thing, though. So it's like, they have to warn you enough to tell you, but not to change it in that way, but only to change it in this way. And
well, see, the thing is that whoever is doing the warning is obviously going to be warning it for the most desired outcome for themselves, for the future that they would most be preferable to, right?
yeah.
So if you're taking a prophecy from, in this case, Sharavas, then obviously, for whatever her, good or bad intentions are, she's going to be telling you, like, listen, like, whole city and all of Chicago and everyone, the knights and everyone is gonna die, or you could just die, which is gonna make things a lot easier for me in my future, blah, blah, blah. But you don't really know what the rest of that entails, right?
Except, it sounds like she doesn't want him to, because that's what the knights said. The knights are like, you can't get involved because you'll die. And she's like, no, you need to know the rest of it. If you don't, then yeah, everybody else will.
Seems like guess it's better that Harry does die then.
Sorry, yes, I guess I see what you're, sorry, my bad.
So that is, all well and good as far as the prophecy goes, but that doesn't necessarily tell us what the rest of the future holds, right? Not knowing what the rest of the future holds. Maybe the world is really better off if we have a Harry Dresden as sacrifice of the knights, or potentially, the other way around, right?
Yeah.
It's just Chicago. It's fine.
Chicago.
Whatever.
Like
Who's there?
It's like nobody. It's
Right.
Like little speck on the map.
Yeah. One Christine and blah.
Ugh. It's not even like they have good pizza or anything there, so,
Yeah, and they eat sports peppers?
Weird.
Nah.
Yeah,
Weird.
they look good. I want to try them.
No,
Somebody
no.
send me some.
We're making fun of them right now, Tansenn.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh.
Damn it. I really want sports peppers.
So the point is that, I think, away from what Harry Dresden is doing about his whole, like, this is how the whole prophecy stone thing, river is a time, wibbly wobbly, bloobity blue, is that you've also got to take, with a grain of salt, not just because they don't know the whole future, but also because, their intentions for the future are also at question, right?
Yeah, no, I know. I get. My point is just kind of like, at this point, there's been enough, like, why don't they just come down and be like, instead of like, because like I said, I've been reading the Percy Jackson ones too, and they're all about crazy prophecies and doesn't necessarily always mean what you think it's going to mean and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, kind of the way it's set up in that one is a lot of times the oracles don't really have control over, like, what or how they're saying it, Like, there's one that's mostly sort of like crossword clues type of thing, right? So it's like she'd love to be able to just say, hey, go to the door on the left. But instead she has to, like whatever magic, godly whatevers, right? So I'm like, I sort of get that. That's important. But something like this, right?
Well, and I bet a lot of stuff is coming in very abstract as well. Not that clear to her.
Well, and maybe that's part of it too, right? But like, just like right here with like this Olsharavas, basically she's like, okay, so we know the prophecy is that if you get involved, you'll die. If you don't get involved, everyone will die. So again, it leaves it open. So who knows who exactly... Because, again, it's not necessarily her prophecy. She's just relaying it because the other guys already relayed part of it, too. But it's like, if you're going to put that out there, why can't you just make it... Like, again, I'm like, I know what he's saying, but you got to put it with a light touch because you don't know which way it's going to... But I'm like, well, yeah, but if you need to, like, let them know that, okay, this is what's going to happen, so you need to change it. Why don't you just be like, make sure, like, nobody in Chicago dies? And, like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd think almost at this point you could just be like, okay, I really don't want this part. Whatever you do, don't make choices to go in that direction. Make sure you go in this direction. You know what I mean? Like, it's still so very faint and vague, and I'm like, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, you leave it vague enough that you don't know that they're going to make the right choice and that they're going to actually... alter things the way you're trying to nudge them in the direction of,
It's kind of a cosmic sense of humor, really. It's kind of like, I'm only going to tell you this.
Well,
have fun.
And that's kind of what Harry...
This is their entertainment.
Oh, maybe.
They're dropping the drama.
Maybe they're like, ultimately, we don't really care. I guess if Harry fucks this up, we'll just make some other vague prediction to somebody else, and maybe they'll get things back.
Fix it up, yeah.
But yeah.
See, that'd be even funnier, actually, if you're, like, constantly giving out, like, prophecies, like, 17 a day or whatever like that, and it's like, this is your prophecy right now, but if the guy I just told the last one to does his shit, then you won't be able to do your shit, so it doesn't even matter. Whoever beats each other to the Tim Hortons against, okay?
Yeah, right?
Like, you have to order a double-double today, but by tomorrow, double-doubles won't exist anymore, and then your prophecy won't even matter, so who knows?
Right? Right? Give me a cheeseburger. I'm sorry, we can't do a cheeseburger meal. Fine, give me the double-double. I don't care. Can we just have something with hamburger and cheese on it, please?
Can you tell we stopped for food right before we come to the podcast?
Bringing gifts of cheeseburgers.
Trying to, anyways.
So one of the things, though, is that potentially is because they're experiencing more of the river at the same time as everyone else. Maybe it's a little bit harder for them to look into the future themselves, right? For them, it's like, for us, we can just stand around making all sorts of predictions about the future, where she's experiencing so much of it. She's like, I don't have time to think 10 steps ahead. I'm experiencing 10 steps right now. So that's also why she can't just be like, just use the red door. She's just like, I know.
Or just figure out what
right. It's
point
easier
your
to be like, listen,
is to where her string is.
Right. There will be a green door and a red door and a blue door and a yellow door.
Oracles are just like the ultimate ADHD.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so much information.
Noise.
It's like, I physically can't give you a more specific answer because I just, like, witnessed, like, 8,000 different things, and I'm not sure how to define this closer to your specific story, so...
I guess. I mean, yes, they're great plot devices and things for, giving you, like, a nudge of where you need to go, or hinting at things that the reader can pick up on because they know more than... But yeah, every once in a while, I'm like, so you can give out, like... so much information, or you can do enough that you can try to alter what those 50 futures are going to be, but yeah, you can't ever give anything sort of more concrete or useful than to, you know what I mean? It's still all up to the hero to figure it out the right way in the last minute and get it all right. There you go. Sounds like a lot of pressure.
Seems like a lot of work too.
That too. That's why I'm not an oracle.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, moving past whether or not prophecies are bullshit or not.
Maybe genuine prophecies aside, he couldn't drop the case anyways. Because I took money in advance and I have to pay my bills and I can't afford to pay that back.
And he no longer cares about imminent death, no.
Yeah, he says it doesn't hit him the same way. He's like, don't get me wrong, I not encouraging it, but
I want to die, but
I'm just so used to that fear. It just kind of settles in familiarly now, and I don't get all like panicked.
High-functioning anxiety right there.
Right?
Okay, so my 2023 reading goal was to finish every book that I already own.
How'd that work out for you?
It's still 2023, is it not?
Oh, this year? Didn't you do this like last year?
No,
this is right now. To read a book every week or something?
No, this is my reading goal for this year, just to finish all the books. So for me, what that means is basically reading the last 1 or 2 books of like 30,000 series.
Yes.
Because,
you never want it to end.
No, because you grew out of the series before the books had finished being published, and you're like, well, I'll come back to this series when the next book is published, but you moved on and you do other things.
Gotcha.
So I've got so many series that I still have 1 or 2 books left to read in them.
Oh.
So I've read like 20 books this year already, trying to do in pursuit of this goal. Unfortunately, some of these books were like, younger age range. I read them in middle school.
I finally know what happens at the end of Captain Underpants.
And I grew out of the age range before the books were finished being published.
But you own them, so now you
I
have to
own
read
them, so I've got to read them. So there's one, The Land of Stories by Chris Colfer.
Oh, yeah, those were good.
I read book 5 7 years ago and gave it a horrible review on Goodreads. Had no idea, couldn't remember the series at all, don't know where it picks up, so I went through all the Wikipedia summaries, and I just read the 6th book a couple days ago. Wasn't that great. But
still love you, Chris Colfer, but
it didn't translate well to adulthood. But it was funny because Goldilocks, spoilers, gets pregnant and has a baby. And Goldilocks in the series is a very adventurous, running around getting shit done lady. And so the baby gets kidnapped or whatever like that, and baby keeps getting rocked to sleep through all of as the parents are fighting the bad guys to get the kid back. That's what's rocking him to sleep, because he's the kid was so used to being in his mom's stomach while she was running around fighting bad guys that he keeps getting put to sleep while being rocked gently to sleep. And Harry's
does her fancy footwork back and forth.
Exactly, right? So it's Harry Dresden is just my natural calm right now is being threatened.
Imminent danger.
This is my lullaby.
Wait, I'm familiar.
This is
my
home.
Steady constant.
So yeah, that was my long-winded story to get to that.
Right.
That's funny. That was in another series that I was just not to the same extent that you are, more just I was running out of things in between, and I was like, oh hey, wait, somebody put out more books than this one. But the other series by Anne Bishop, they have that, and basically it's the girls in that are prophetic and stuff like that. And they all get put into this benevolent care, so everybody thinks it's wonderful, and of course it's really, really not. So then it's some of these girls trying to survive that on their own and stuff like that, and the one girl is she's sometimes I get all these weird, crazy visions, and it's hard to tell what's the right stuff and what's not, and whatever. She's but there's always this image or something, and if I know that's my steady constant or whatever, so it helps me to determine whether I'm reliving something that happened or whether this is new prophecy or and blah blah blah. So it's that's the same thing with Harry and stuff like that. He's oh, I'm in imminent danger. Okay, this is real life.
Well, that's a good point actually, because Raven Baxter from That's So Raven, that's somebody who tried to act on a prophecy.
Did you say Raven's batshit?
Baxter?
Oh, Baxter. I was maybe, but
who did everything in her powers to completely tell the prophecy as full as she possibly could and wanted to be as involved in the prophecy, changing as much as she could, and still always got it wrong. So even if the Oracle or whatever wants to give as much information as possible, they just don't know shit anyways.
I guess that's right. The power of the beard. No, we just do baby. Yeah. Which That's So Raven wasn't bad. I hated the spin-off. The Corey in that house was just dreadful, I gotta say. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Was that Disney or was that Nickelodeon?
That's Disney.
Yeah, sorry, Disney. Yeah,
that's that fine. One. They made enough money off of it. They don't care.
I'm sure they did anyways.
Sure, they don't care if you liked it or not.
No, I'm guessing they probably don't.
In fact, they'll probably sue us for even mentioning their name. So Harry gets the potion making, which is always a fun time.
Mm-hmm. I always love what ingredients. I'm always paying attention to which ones.
They're the most interesting thing in the world, quite frankly.
Yeah. Use stale coffee. Added hairs from a skunk for scent. A small square of sandpaper for touch. I tossed in a small photo of Meatloaf cut out from a magazine for sight. Is this a cooking magazine or is this actually the artist Meatloaf?
Oh no, I'm thinking the artist. No, not me. Meatloaf. I'm sure it has it with a capital M. It's a capital. Yeah, no, it's not a hunk of meatloaf. It's the artist.
I wasn't sure.
And I'm like wow, that's a bit of a kick in the face, isn't it?
Why Meatloaf?
Yeah, no.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I know, he's like, let me make this potion. So this potion is all like...
What makes him anti-vampire venom?
Well, because this is what he's saying. This is why it's like so rude, because he's like, it gives you these like wonderful, euphoric, fantastic, like, I don't give a shit that you're about to kill me vibe. So he's like, I'm using a potion that is like the exact opposite of all of that. So like stale coffee, that's a gross taste. Skunk smell, that's a gross smell. Right? It's like, what else did you mention there?
Sandpaper for
sandpaper. We don't want to feel sandpaper. So I'm like, apparently Meatloaf just does not do it for Harry Dresden, because this is his visual. And apparently, if he wants to get all hot and bothered and is afraid, Susan or anybody else is going to dose him up, all he has to do is think of Meatloaf, and he's like, no, I'm good. And I'm like,
a rooster's crow. Yeah.
Well, because he's got like
powdered
the song
aspirin for taste.
Bat Out of Hell, right? So it's like maybe you could do for sound, right? Because it's music, but no, he does for sight.
No, he doesn't for sight.
So
yeah,
still just rude.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's just, and I mean, I get it. Meatloaf, I guess, maybe is not one of the sexiest people to ever live, but at the same time, I'm just like, I'm glad it's not me getting mentioned by name in the here's how to turn you off potion. Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, ooh.
I do like the subtlety of the Surgeon General's warning.
Yeah, right.
Caution, this is very bad for you.
Very, very bad. Could lead to death or harm. Really, don't say. But yes. Yeah, I've always felt a little bit bad for Meatloaf and that.
He's dead now, so
yeah, I guess he doesn't.
He's no longer offended.
no longer being haunted by Jim Butcher's insults.
I was gonna say, does that make Jim Butcher feel like less or more, or is it still just like, I don't care?
I mean, it was a dig 20 years ago. Sure, it doesn't matter much at this point.
Maybe.
Sure, both of them got over it.
Yeah, I'm sure. But yes, it is funny.
So Harry drifts off, but is awakened from a call from Ebenezer, who tells him that the senior council is going to try and stop the duel from happening.
Yeah.
Justin tells him not to and provides Ebenezer with the details of Ortega's threats.
Yeah, I know. He's like, this is bullshit. Like, we'll totally knock this down. He's like, no, wait. And he's like, you want to fight him? No, I really don't.
However,
gotta take him kind of seriously.
Bastard has, put a bunch of cheats in place where if I don't, he's gonna run around and kill everybody anyways. So, damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of funny. He's like, you want to do this? It's like, no. I kind of like the idea, though, that... So, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, because at first I was like, why the fuck did they know or care? And then I was like, oh yeah, his whole point on the Larry Fowler show was like, put it in writing, make it above board, go through all the legit channels. So I was like, oh yes, he would have had to have submitted his request to duel through the council or whatever.
Formal request to kill Harry Dresden.
Yeah, it's like, okay, fine, just let us know your date and who your arbitrary party is.
Well, this would have been part of the negotiations, right? Like, because they asked for his head. And this would have been more specific.
They were just asking him to hand him over. They're basically just like, "Hey, give us your guy," and then the White Council
that got knocked down. So
yeah,
now
Council was
okay.
"Fuck, you can't just start handing people over." So
it's still just negotiation process here. Well, if you're not going to give us to him, let me duel him to death.
Now they're they're just again a different channel, they're like, "Oh, fine, you guys won't all just like hand over your own people and make that like a whole thing." So yeah, exactly. But yeah, I like how they're kind of like, we can totally get around this. Like, he's got a bullshit claim, like this is like, like the car injury lawyer thing, or I'm gonna sue you for like 10 million. And they're like, dude, you got nothing. Like, don't worry, we're just gonna tell this guy to fuck off. And then he's like, no.
They have something.
They're just gonna cheat and just go kill everybody regardless of whether. So yeah, and then we get a nice little like trip down memory lane, some little like nostalgia bits or whatever, with Ebenezer being all like, well, you could just, or remember when you used to just hang out at the farm and we used to like look at stars and life was so much simpler.
Which was only for 2 years, right?
I know, I forget sometimes. It makes it
seem like it lasted a lot longer, but reality was it was only 2 years.
It's only 2 years.
The whole Justin Dumore thing happened when he was 16, right? And then Harry says when he was 18, he immediately hit the road and traveled around America until settling down in Chicago, right?
Basically, yeah, going and getting his license and doing all that. And it's funny because when you hear a lot of what, like, just the way he reminisces on stuff, like, further throughout the books, and the things that the things that he did learn and stuff from, because, like, I know he says it somewhere, he's like, he didn't really teach me a lot, but at the same time, he did learn a lot from, but yeah, it always makes you think, like, there's this longer period in his formative years, you know, where it was, like, from, like, 12 to 18, or, like, you know, and it's like, no, it really wasn't, because, yeah, it's like, Demorne snatched him up when he was, like, what, 9, or, no, it wasn't when he's 6.
No, it was, like, 8 or 9 or something. He spent a couple of years in orphanage.
Yeah, because I was going to say, was it as late as 10 or something like that? But anyways, yeah. But yeah, he spent longer with Demorne and all that craziness, but then only had, like, a couple of years with, and it's, like, weird. Because it feels like, and I mean, I guess it just goes to show of what kind of present / mentor / role model, I guess, that Ebenezer was. That, like, just those 2 years had, like, such an impact on Harry that it makes, you know, him and by proxy us feel like, you know, he had this whole lifetime with them of, you know.
Well, it had been such a long time since he'd actually had a positive experience. It's no doubt that he keeps coming back to it, like saying...
Okay, yeah, he manifested his powers at 10 and was adopted a few weeks later.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's what I was trying... Because I remember, because I think he has, like, a couple of instances at some point where he had, like, weird stuff. Kind of like Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, yeah.
Had, like, a couple of things happen before then, right? And I was like, but okay, it was 10 when he was adopted, yeah, so...
Both Harry Potter and Harry Dresden manifested their powers when they were 10. Ooh. Crazy.
Actually, it's not altogether that, because Potter talks about a couple of different instances that happened.
Because we're most in the lead up of, like, the 1 year, school year leading up to it, you know?
They were...
The haircuts and the jumping and landing on the roof of school and shit.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree, because I swear the haircut happened, like, way before then. The most recent was just the snake incident, but some of that other stuff happened, like...
More younger? Fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So I'm going to say it was kind of the same thing.
He did his first thing when he was, like, only a couple months old, actually.
Yeah,
if you really want to get fucking into it, okay?
Well, like, more than a couple months old.
1 year. 13 months, whatever.
But yes, so yeah, after losing his mother in childbirth and his father when he was 6, and then, like, 4 years in an orphanage, and then 6 years of malicious training, torture, but also awesome because he was a daddy figure and he introduced him to Elaine. Then he gets, like, 2 years with Ebenezer, but it's still, like, is comparable to the 16 years leading up to that, or, you know, whatever beforehand, that it almost balances it out by the time he got, like you say, some affection, some normalcy, some, you know.
Just some, you know, some kindness over 2 years makes up for some not so kindness over 6.
Right. Like, we just went up to the hayloft to, like, look at the stars. He didn't, like, banish me up there and, like, lock me into the hayloft, like, 24 hours a day.
It was awesome.
It was so good. And
I don't know if it's been said before, if it's being said in the future, but, like, most of the time he spent on the farm wasn't even magical training. It was literally just hard work on a farm, right? So it was very normal and just, like...
Got to shovel shit.
Let's just take a break from the magic, Harry. You just had a little bit of a master class. Let's just forget about it for a second.
Yeah, and I think he does, because I feel like, you know, maybe when we were introduced to Ebenezer in book 4 or whatever, I feel like somewhere in there is when he kind of says, like, he didn't learn a lot of magical stuff from him anymore, but yeah, he learned a lot about, like, just control of his own emotions and feelings, and therefore how that related
it's very
magically.
Much dealing with a teen with trauma.
Yeah, yeah, very much, right? Skittish little horse.
Let's make it simple.
Back to basics. So they're reminiscing about how simple that 2 years was, right? And again, like you said, it's very nice and just like...
Hint, you could get away from all of this. Hint, hint.
Yeah, hint. If you ever want another year or two on the farm.
And we also get a little... So aside from just that, like, Harry's immediate is you get a little bit of insight into Ebenezer's thought. Well, I mean, I guess we already did in, like, book 4. We already know that. What does he call him? A bunch of lollygagging... mud swallowing. But again, we sort of go back to that where he's like, oh, you can let this vampire push you around. He's like, well, I don't really have a choice because he says he's going to, you know, kill everybody if I don't. And he's like, well, you know, Dresden's like, I also have a source that says, like, some of them might not want the war, and, like, the Reds want it to go on, right? And Ebenezer's like, yeah, because a lot of them get to just go, they're like, whatever, cool, we just go kill indiscriminately now or whatever. So, yeah, they don't want to bring it back under wraps, you know, kind of a thing. And you get this whole thing, and he's like, well, because he's like, the Merlin doesn't want to go on the offensive. He just figures, you know, it can all be, like, the defenses and stuff like that, and we'll just... And Harry's like, well, how's that working out? And he's like, unfortunately, it is working out for the moment, but, you know, he's like, we can't go... Again, like, you're not going to win a war hiding behind a wall. Like, eventually we're going to... You know, so it gives you that insight again of, like, oh, like, officially we're following the Merlin and the Merlin's, you know, political line. In reality, though... This is fucked up. Like, something's got to change. What are we going to do?
It doesn't matter if you're an Ebenezer or a Dumorin, you know? Wizard's gonna scuff those lines.
Wizard's gonna whiz? Yeah, exactly.
Harry's got a lot of influences of rule breaking.
Well, right, and again, like, you know, I mean, I think some of that
Gray
is
morality.
right. Well, it's like that little bit inherent in who Harry was and stuff like that. But then exactly right, you had De Morn on the one scale and Ebenezer kind of on the other, and Harry. But exactly, you know, it's like, well, whether you're breaking it for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, but exactly, you know, like you say, neither one of them are completely towing the line.
Too cool for rules.
Too cool for rules, and just Ebenezer just has it with a little bit of a better eye towards the end goal and the betterment of,
and I mean,
you know, humanity and
to be
wizards.
fair to De Morn, you know, we are a lot more critical of him than the White Council was, because the White Council still places all the blame on Harry's feet. They think Harry went crazy and killed De Morn, right? We're the ones who were saying that De Morn was crazy evil, but the White Council was like, as far as we know, the gray morality between Ebenezer and De Morn is exactly equal, and Harry's just the crazy one. So,
Yeah, well,
De Morn was just better at not getting caught.
Ebenezer's better at not getting caught.
That's
the
true.
same way.
De Morn
right?
is dead.
The
Ebenezer's
White Council
Yeah.
hasn't kicked Ebenezer out of anything. They don't like him because he's
He's opinionated, and that's
Right?
the thing, right? But I mean, that's the difference, is that De Morn was specifically practicing black magic, and he was specifically going outside the rules and trying to, like you say...
wasn't getting caught.
Wasn't getting caught, but to brainwash Harry and Elaine to be, you know, the first of his elite lieutenants and blah, blah, blah. Whereas McCoy doesn't want to go outside the laws of the White Council. He just thinks that the Merlin's an idiot sometimes and that they're kind of dicks. And you know what I mean? Like, I think that's the difference. It's that, he goes outside the rules in the sense of, like, you guys are being, you know, like, again, okay, you know what? Right away, everybody, sure, walk in a line, but you all are walking to the slaughterhouse. You know, in this particular case, now is a good time to not, you know what I mean? Whereas De Morn is just like anarchy and chaos and let's worship the Dark Lord, you know? And I mean, I think that's the difference. Whereas, he's not caught, but he's not breaking the rules the same way. He's not looking for chaos and anarchy.
My only point that as far as the White Council's concerned, they're on the same even wavelength, you know?
Yes and no.
They do their own shit, right? But
Yeah, I was going to say yes and no, but again, I guess, maybe. Well, I even know that's probably more how De Morn avoided getting caught, was he towed the line a lot more. I think he probably didn't disagree. He probably, you know, it's exactly the same as like those kids I went to school with. I remember like we did a school reunion at one point when our children were like very small. But don't roll your eyes at me.
Okay, no, it's fine.
There's a Anyway, the point is,
It's fine if you're talking about that reunion. I thought you were talking about the most recent one. That's why I was rolling my eyes.
no, that wasn't a reunion. No, just yes. Had a teacher from when I was a kid, and then when me and my sister had kids that were like 3 and 4 years old, and they weren't being particularly mischievous, but my niece just kept going up and went and got a piece of cake or something, and they were like, here you go, and she's like, oh, thank you, and they were like, oh, she's so sweet and polite, and my sister's like, oh, great, because they're like holding little terrors at home, I'm glad she's, you know, being polite in public kind of a thing, and our teachers were like, yeah, that's what you always have to worry about. She's like, it's usually, you know, the ones that are like, oh, my little angel would never do, are like the holy terrors, and the parents that know their kids can be brats or whatever have also taught them manners. And yes, out in public is when they know they have to be good and behave, and you save the cheekiness for, you know, at home push mom's buttons, right? So I'm like, it's the same thing here. I'm like, De Morn was probably the perfect little warden guy, you know, the warden, he kept the rules, he did everything. Oh, yes, Merlin, you're right, Merlin. That's
Gotta be afraid of the quiet kids.
Merlin. Yeah. In the meantime, he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna kill you all. Whereas McCoy is like, you guys are fucking stupid. Your plan sucks.
When he leaves the house, he falls into line.
But he's like, fine, I'm one of the good guys, so I guess I will go along with you because technically you're the one in charge, you know, but... So anyways, so we got the council's full of shit and they're being fucking dumbasses again because exactly, like, Ebenezer's like, we should take the fight to them kind of a thing and go kick their ass before they get rid of all of our allies and whatever, whether they, like, talk people against us or, like, kill them all, then we'll be left standing or whatever instead of just waiting for them to give up and go home, and the Merlin's just waiting for them to give up and go home, and so, you get a little bit of that political, like, council's stupid, and a little bit of
conflict.
Yeah, conflict, right? And it's like, well, you could just hang out here and you know, remember Asteroid, Dresden? Which, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a better name than Cosmos 5, and I'm like, they're kind of not that different. Asteroid, Dresden, and Cosmos 5. Well, I guess just for the fact that it's a better
naming
name.
one after yourself.
If it's after
cooler.
yourself, yeah, exactly. Like Asteroid Maggie would definitely be cooler than like Cosmos 5. So, you know.
It is a very cute moment.
It is. It is. It's very sweet and it's very cute. And just, yeah, I love like, oh, what did we ever do with that? Like, oh, yeah, I packed it up in the trunk. And, oh, yeah, right, thanks. Okay. And
Sold it for drug money.
right.
Yeah, so he's waiting for Bob to come back and
Yeah.
sort of chewing all of this over. But
Time is running out.
Bob finally, at the very last second, comes back and
Yeah,
he's clearly injured.
Getting a little too close to Dawn. Like, where are you, buddy?
Like he can barely communicate what happened to him. Like
Rattled and exhausted and fucked up.
Comes in weaving drunkenly on the what the fuck is wrong with you? And yeah, wards. Where did they get wards? Magic. Okay, so I knew he wasn't that badly injured. That made me feel a little better if he could still be snarky. He wasn't completely dying. Okay. But yeah, it's
Come to find out that Marcone has wards.
what the fuck? Last time we saw Marcone, he was just regular
human
gangster.
Muggle.
Muggle. He was like a total muggle.
Total muggle. A muggle with wards that managed to fuck Bob up pretty good.
Yeah, because apparently, you know, Bob's pretty good at detecting things like wards and recognizing them and knowing how to. And no, he got completely off guard by these ones.
Well, you know, Bob's specific orders were like, don't fuck around, just go see what's happening over there, right? So presumably Bob wasn't, doing anything insane.
I also take a lot of the don't fuck around to stay out of the girls' locker rooms.
Yeah.
Just go to Marcone's.
Fair enough. But still, presumably, like, Bob wasn't going there, guns blazing for any reason. He basically just walked up to the gates and got smacked and was like, what the fuck is this?
Figured he could just go peep in a window or two and get the lowdown on what Marcone was up to, and
Shit smacked out of him. Yeah.
Big time.
But obviously, knowing how smart Marcone is, he got to do the eye-looky thing with Harry and
The eye-looky thing.
in book 1.
Little insight, yeah.
And, if you're a smart man, you should have instantly been like, you know what? Let's not have a wizard come look over my shoulder whenever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, so exactly, right? So, yeah, we knew he was savvy enough in the first place that once this shit started going down in Stormfront and
then
Harry
full
got
moon
involved,
happened right on his property.
yeah, then he was like, again, right, didn't really blink at the whole thing. He's like, so I hear you're a wizard that's been hired to look into, why my guys are dead. And yeah, exactly, soul gazes him right off the bat. So he's like, oh, cha-ching. And then, yeah, like you say, right, the crazy wolf belts that, Marcone's like, okay, well, I guess this shit's real.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fuck around.
Yeah.
And like you say, we didn't really see him in book 4. And by book 5, boom, here we go. Where
he was busy.
he's been busy.
Man
he's
had to go renovate.
Time for your fairy war shit. In the meantime, yeah, exactly right. I got to go put up a few mystical booby traps and get me a bunch of wards and stuff like that. So.
It's nice to think that in the meantime, Marcone came and looked over Harry's shoulder and was like, no. Let me go build a gate. I'll be back.
Well, I don't know. Harry's got all kinds of wards and shit, too. And just because Marcone did them different, I'm like, yeah, maybe that was exactly... He's like, oh, you have a bunch of, like, magical booby traps? Not just that steel door you put in after the toad demon tore down your wooden door? Okay, he's like, well, I already got steel doors. Shit, how do I get some of this magic crap going on?
So a lot of strategizing going on. With
Some
Marcone.
way, somehow, Marcone put out his feelers.
Yeah, it's not afraid to learn. He's like, I think you're a dumbass, but I will learn the useful information from you. Mm-hmm. You can defend with magic? I'm going to go get me some magic to defend myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Damn.
So, yeah, don't know much more about that, but Marcone is very slightly entering this magical world with the rest of us. Mm-hmm. Even though nobody fucking invited you, Marcone.
Mm-hmm. And can't tell, Bob doesn't know where or how he got these from because they're so good, he's not familiar. And then, because the other person he was supposed to check up on too was Ortega. So he's like, all right, he's at the Rothschild. I'm like, is this just like your typical like supernatural hotel, or is it just easier than like trying to make up, why have extra characters when you can just like reuse them? Like, we already had the Fairy Queen set up at the Rothschild. We'll just send Ortega there too,
It's probably also like, as much as it is easier just to have one hotel, it's probably all the supernatural, like, hey, this place is stained. I feel drawn to this place.
Maybe. I was just going to say, or is that like the...
There's a back entrance just for magical users.
Exactly, right? There's a magical
There was to the
concierge.
fairy court. You had to go back down like that back breezeway that wasn't lit up from the parking lot around. I was just going to say similar but different in that. I was like, or is it just that like the Rothschild is like just the fanciest Ritz-Carlton in his make-believe world. And of course, supernatural assholes are always way richer than anybody else. So it's like they're all just like, they're all just going to set up at the Rothschild. 'Cause
I'll take the supernatural suite, please.
it's big enough to set up like a whole entire chunk of like fairy court on the roof. So,
Do you like the Fairy Queen suite or the Vampire King suite?
Yeah, right, exactly. But yeah, either way, either like you say, it's already got the remnants of supernatural to draw it in, or it's just like the fanciest place and like, wow, only the best for us.
Yeah.
I won't kill out some cheapo Super 8 motel.
Be really funny if they did, though. Just rent out an entire Super 8 for you and all your vampire homies.
See, that's how you test. See, that's why he's Duke Ortega. All these other underlings that they're complaining about that are like just running off and killing willy-nilly now that there's a whole big,
Duke Ortega?
They're the ones that hang out at the freaking Super 8, right? And Ortega's like way above that.
Ortega's not dressing up as a pizza delivery boy to kill Dresden. So.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a proper gauntlet for that. Yeah. I challenge these. Whack back.
Right.
Although it would be much better to see him.
That would be much better, right?
Pizza 73 outfit. Throwing the chalice down. We're going to do this.
Well, while Harry is composing all these jokes, it gets very dangerous. Bang, bang, bam.
Okay,
whatever the word is.
Since when is a drum roll dangerous? But okay, bang, bang, bang.
Bang, bang, bang. Obviously, his candles that were for Bob to be,
as
gone
Bob
and out.
left, he's like, make sure you light the warm. Since I'm not here to tell you about impending doom and wards. Oh wait, I missed all those impending doom and wards and ran right into them. But yes, light your candles. So
Bob's back.
If somebody else says that air spirit out to spy on you, well, you send me out to spy on someone else. But light your ward flames so you know they're coming.
And it's a good thing he did.
And Marcone's like, fuck that candle. So yes, just as he goes to blow them out,
green, yellow, red.
Something big is coming his way.
Something magic this way comes.
This concludes our episode 10.8, Asteroid Dresden. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnally's.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.